Evet, herkese tekrar hoş geldiniz diyorum.
Welcome again. Since the morning, we have listened to some great speeches, mainly about digitalization and the future. China is one of the countries that is under the spotlight at the moment, but the African continent is quite unknown. This is why dear Vardan wanted us to have this map on the screen. Recently, Africa has been rising, and Turkish businessmen are not aware of this. Before coming here, I submitted a few questions to some of our businessmen to get insight. And I would like to use our time very well, so I will ask two questions in advance for all panelists to answer. Well, those who know me know that I am in the Turkish-Chinese Business Council, so they are surprised for me being here. When I was asked about moderating this, I thought about what we have in Africa. Coffee, for example, came from Ethiopia and went to Ottoman Empire and then into Europe. Currently, 1.2 billion cups of coffee is consumed all around the world every day, but only 10% of it is Turkish mocha. During the Vienna siege, we also spread coffee to Europe. So, as I am a coffee lover too, I was invited for moderation, and at this time of the day, starting with coffee, we will go on with other opportunities in Africa. Take a look at this map, and you will see that the African continent is 3 times bigger than China, with a population of 1 billion, and by 2050 it is expected to be doubled. On this large continent, however, we have more than 50 countries. Each of these countries have their intrinsic characteristics, and we usually consider Africa for infrastructural issues. If we can make investments, we can start exporting to Europe from Africa, for example. Take a look at Mozambique. It has agreements with 15 different countries. There is Djibouti. It is an investment country with bases of different nations from around the world. And in the meantime, Africa's relations with Turkey have been booming. Now I would like to turn to dear Vardan. Starting in 2008, there have been meetings about the future of Africa and Turkey in 2019. The next one is going to be conducted in Istanbul. Throughout this process, more than 50 official committees have been visiting Africa to boost our commercial volume. There is also a formal government strategy for opening embassies in Africa. Thanks to them, we are going to have better and more business councils based in Africa. For about 12 to 13 years, our embassies have grown from 12 to 38 in number. And we are also trying to increase the number of our embassies even further. Actually, 38, 39 is the number we want to achieve, and currently it is 22. In our meetings with you, we talked about your visits to Africa and how Africa can play a role in terms of achieving our 2023 goals. In comparison with China, we have a foreign trade volume of $30 billion, but we don't have a current budget deficit at that point. This means Africa offers a lot of potential for us. Strategically, we have to think about the larger picture, as I can understand from previous presentations. So, what are your ideas as the Council foreign economic relations. I would like to thank you for inviting me on behalf of the assembly here, the council. This is a nice event, nice meeting, so I would like to thank the organizers too. But as we do not have coffee breaks, people have left the room and I am expecting them to return because Africa is very important for us. For all countries around the world actually, and some countries are just realizing this. If only I could show you, in my hand I have two covers from The Economist, and these are covers with 12 years in between them. One of them says the hopeless continent, where there is desolation and troubles ruling over the continent. Well, of course, troubles have been evident for about a while, but after 13 years, we have another cover on The Economist. It says Africa Rising, showing us what kind of opportunities are present in Africa. Truly, most countries have been delayed in terms of realizing that potential. Considering the population, which is 1 billion, which is expected to double by 2050, there are needs, because wherever there are humans, there are needs. We are here in Turkey to meet our needs, for example. Other countries' representatives are here for their needs too. And if in Africa it is the same, needs may change even from one nation to others, even if they are neighbors. And if you go visit the countries, you will realize that Egypt and Chad are quite different than each other in terms of their needs. It is evident that our companies, small or medium scaled or large scaled, may seize a lot of different potential opportunities in these countries. This includes collaborations, not only selling goods. We can make investments too. Well, we have tight schedule. We do not have a lot of time, so I will try to use my time wisely. As the Assembly of Foreign Economic Relations, we are doing the same all around the world. We try to make sure that the Turkish private sector reach out to all countries. We are doing that through business councils, which count 121 in number, and 22 of them are based in African countries. As I have just said, we are trying to make sure wherever there is an embassy, there will also be a business council for our assembly, because this will allow us to establish sound relations with the people living in those countries. Maybe I can give you some specific examples if I have time. Actually, just give one example and we will go on with the next panelist. We have Fuat Tosyalı. He will also give you examples about investments. But in Ethiopia, one of our employers employed around 8,000 people, and 6,000 of them are women. They are working in an integrated facility where they process cotton and even make t-shirts and textiles products from them. In another country, we have employed 1,500 people, for example, and the production facilities are top-notch quality as you will see in Turkey. In terms of contributions to these countries, there is a great big contribution, big opportunity being presented to local populations. And as democratic development takes place and lifestyles become urbanized, we will see further opportunities arising, incredible opportunities actually. Thank you. Now we will turn to Mrs. Boane. Today I talked to her about Mozambique, which includes 15. Actually, they are a member of Southern African Development Community, where there are 15 different members other than Mozambique. She tells me that our envoys are doing quite a fine work, but generally there is the construction sector being active in Mozambique. So please tell us about your opinions.
And I would like also to take the opportunity to thank the capital, the organizer of this important initiative. And it's a really great pleasure to be here with all of you. Talking about Mozambique, probably I should start introducing Mozambique. Say that Mozambique is located in the southern region of Africa.
Haritayı alabilir miyiz arkadaşlar?
And share is a country which share borders with different countries, has South Africa, Zambia, as you can see on that map. Thank you, Mr. Murat. We share borders with South Africa, as I was saying, with Swaziland, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, and Tanzania. And as you can see also on another side, we have ocean, Indian Ocean. So, another aspect that I would like to emphasize about my country is all surrounding countries are English speakers, and Mozambique as a country we have Portuguese as official language, and English it's another emerging language because of our geographic location. Mozambique as a country, it's about 23 million habitants. Maputo, where I'm from, it's a capital city, which we can also consider the entrance for this big and huge country. Mozambique is a part of SADC organization. All southern countries are part of this organization, which is called SADC. And the SADC, for a few years, let us say almost 5 years, has started a process of integration in that region, economic integration, in order to facilitate the trade and all process of circulation of people, products around the countries. In an economic perspective, Mozambique is a country which is growing, let us say slow, but in the few last years it has been growing fast. I would like to stress that in these few years also we had aspects that we can consider for our economy that will also are contributing to boost our economy. Discovering of oil and mines, minerals in our country. One of the examples is coal, which we have in the Tet region, which is in the North country. And all these aspects, considering the tourism aspect, let us say the agricultural opportunities that we also have inside our country, and another attractive aspects have been also contributing so much for Mozambique to attract many investors for our country. And it's also important to mention that Mozambique, as I said, we have a long coast. We have 3 main ports along the coast. One of them is in Maputo, the second one in Beira, and in Natal in the North country. And those 3 ports are very important for the development of the whole region, as I considered the port that, let us say, the countries has Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, they can access overseas through our port. And they also use our port, the Mozambican ports, to import the products.
Maybe when the port's first part is enough for you, or you want to add some last one more sentences, then I can.
Yes,
Okay.
I can, but I would like here to maybe to end by emphasizing the investment opportunities that we have.
Okay.
The main opportunities that we can mention, we would like to underline in infrastructure. Let us say has roads, railways, transport, urban renovation, housing, agriculture, agro-industry, water infrastructure, in order to increase the water controls and the floods prevention, and also tourism we can also consider as a great area for investment. I would like also to mention that we have already some Turkish companies operating in our market. I won't mention, let us say, the names of those companies, but I know that many of them are operating in infrastructure, housing, some in the railways, in mining, and in education field also, which I didn't mention as an opportunity investment for my country, but I know that education and also health sector are another important sectors for our country, and they are also attractive, and the market is there. Okay. I think those are the basic aspects that I would like to stress. Thank you.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz Bayan Boane'ye.
We would like to thank you, Mr. Moane. Mozambique is quite an important place through which you can reach out to 15 countries. We had a coffee with dear Shah today, and he has a story about working at his father's gas station, but then he worked in various manufacturing industries like soap manufacture. He says the number of investors is little, and Africa has concluded export and import agreements with USA and Europe, and Kenya is truly a country of opportunities. Now, I would like to listen to him. What can we do when we visit you? What kind of investment opportunities will we have? What kind of cultures are specific to Kenya? And what are the opportunities basically?
Thank you. First and foremost, again, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here. You talk about specifically your questions about Kenya. I represent Kenya, also East Africa. And I think once you look at Africa as a map, you've got to realize that Africa is composed of 5 different regional economic zones. Eastern Africa, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Mozambique, that's Ethiopia, that's whole Eastern Africa. And then Western Africa is the Nigeria and all that western side. And then you've got the southern side, so that's Southern Africa. And then you've got the North Africa, that's, they don't like to be called Africans, Libya, Egypt, and all of them, they're from Maghreb region. And you've got Central Africa in the middle, that's the DRC and all that stuff. So 5 different regional economic zones, which are similar in what they do. So each of them, like Eastern Africa, would be very similar. So if you talk about specifically East Africa is one market, one common market, which has got free trade across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. We have no internal tariffs, so there's no free movement of goods. Now we've got free movement of services and people from Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, so that you can actually work anywhere without any work permits if you're local. So with that, what happens is East Africa becomes a 150 million people market. That becomes sizable for any investor today. In terms of law, similar laws, harmonized all customs laws. So all the customs laws in East Africa are the same. We have a common external tariff, which means all goods, even from coming from Turkey, would be the same, same tax rate as anywhere else in all 5 countries. Apart from this, we have market access. So for goods that are manufactured in East Africa, we have free market access to the entire COMESA. And COMESA starts, if you look at the map again, it starts from Egypt right down to Zimbabwe. All that is a free trade area, no tariffs as long as you're manufacturing in any of those countries in COMESA. So that's important for people to know that we have a 400 million people market, free access if you are manufacturing in any of those markets. Apart from this, we have market access from Kenya if you're manufacturing there to AGOA. AGOA is the African Growth Opportunity Act, and this goes duty-free into the US, anything that is manufactured there. We've also got the EPAs, that is the Economic Partnership Agreement with Europe, and into Europe you have free market access again for anything produced there to go without any duties. Now this makes manufacturing and value addition a very, very important aspect there. So next comes the issue of availability of resources, land, buildings, plant machinery, and human capital. We allow free importation of plant and machinery without any taxes, and that's why value addition is important there. And you can actually do private sector lands, so you can buy land there. The human capital that we have in Eastern Africa is very similar. They're all English speaking, and they all work very well. They actually don't have any accent, so they're very neutral, even good for call centers. The IT industry there is very, very well developed. And I think Jared, when he was talking here, he talked about Kenya and the Maasai with his phone. We transfer, we've got Apple phone, Apple Pay, that's coming out next month. We already have that in Kenya. It's invented in Kenya. It's called M-Pesa. And you can transfer money from anywhere to anywhere just by one SMS. That's already working. The banking system is working on it. So internet access, again, we've got 4 fiber optic cables across the region in East Africa, and that really gives us a lot more of bandwidth. Today, like we were talking earlier, without an iPhone, without a smartphone, you can't work together. So all that availability. Now, the second thing is policies, in terms of government policies. Liberalized exchange rate, market-driven. You can actually bring in your investment into Kenya and you can take it out. You can take out your profits. Of course, you're after paying taxes. You can actually repatriate without a problem. So there's no exchange control there. It's all about having a basic transaction. You can't do the Hawala transactions, but you can actually transact properly. The other thing is, I think, competitiveness. Today, when we look at East Africa or when we look at Africa as a whole, we're talking at 1 billion people. But 1 billion people, 54 countries. We've got to understand that it's not one country. 54 countries, but regional economic zones. Now, in this region economy, 150 million people market is just one demand-led growth there. So the consumer out there in Eastern Africa or consumer there in Africa is growing up. The consumer is coming up from, we call the bottom of the pyramid to the middle of the pyramid. And when the middle grows up, that middle class income really rises up. I think probably 20 years ago, Turkey was in the same boat, and now, your consumers are asking for all consumer products. So consumer products are becoming a big thing there. Packaged consumer goods, packaged food from the loose open markets are changing. Real estate, because of the rapid urbanization there, urbanization is happening in a big way. Our children are learning computers, they're learning smartphones. They don't want to sit in farms anymore. They want to actually work in offices, and urbanization has become a big thing. So the need for urbanization. We need about 60 new cities built up in Africa very, very fast. Now that's the pace of construction that's required there. It's demand-led. The demand is becoming big. In the absence of that, we're having a lot of slums, and slums are the ones that start growing and people go into urban areas. And of course, then there's an upward mobility to become better. But that real big growth requirement is construction. So construction industry, I heard that Turkey has the biggest contractors. You can actually come and take over a lot of stuff there. Private sector contractors are allowed. Today, I think earlier we were talking about it, China has taken over the construction industry everywhere else. They still use the same stone from Kenya. They still use the same earth, the same cement, same sand. What's different that they have and which Turkish don't have or even other people don't have? It's just competitiveness. It's the work ethic and the work attitude. They will work 24 hours, they'll work round the clock. The engineers are not guys who are sitting in 5-star hotels, they're actually working on the field. That's how they become very competitive. And the other thing is, the difference that China makes today in Africa is they come in with financing. They actually bring in a project and say, you want to do a project? They will do a design, finance, build, own, operate, and transfer. That gives them the edge because African countries, the biggest single problem in any African country is capital formation. The formation of large amounts of capital is a serious concern, serious problem. Now, if China comes in and says, here, I think China Road and Bridge just came to Kenya and said, your $3.4 billion railway, we're going to build it. And it was given to them straight away. Now, that was coming with a new concept. I'm just saying that that's a possible opportunity. There's so many. The policies are quite liberal. Foreign investors are allowed to come and even own 100%. You can actually come and own a 100% company there. There's no restriction there. However, you would be advised to have somebody local, whether it's East Africa or Mozambique or wherever, you would be advised to have somebody as a local partner who has ground knowledge and therefore has a lot more ground ability, the know-how and the do-how of not making mistakes. Because when people come from a different culture, they come into Africa, I think there's a big issue of knowing the culture. That's important. And I think one more thing is it's a long-term story there. A lot of Turkish do come, and your embassies, I can tell you one thing, are very aggressive. They're very, very good and aggressive. They want to sell all the products there. They say, buy Turkish product. We want to sell all our goods, fast-moving consumer goods, this and that. But we have a 25% tariff barrier. And when we import raw materials as a manufacturer, we have zero duty. So manufacturing has a 25% barrier there. And therefore, it makes sense to manufacture in those markets. So let's say you're to manufacture in Kenya. You would have market access to the whole of COMESA, which means from Egypt to Zimbabwe. So any of those regions, you can come and manufacture there. You've got market access. Please, if you do come in with a long-term vision, because Africa is not a short-term story. It's a long-term story. And in the long term, the demographics, the demographic dividend, the markets are opening up. Another thing, value addition. 60%, this is a McKinsey report, you can check it online, Lions on the Move. 60% of the arable land, unused land in the world, is in Africa. That's a huge continent that's waiting for agribusinesses. I wouldn't advise to come and just do agriculture. I would advise, if you do agriculture, you do the whole value chain, from the agriculture to the finished product, right to the packaged product, and then export it out to wherever you go to. So lots of opportunities. I could go on and on, but I think overall, open for business and really very investor friendly.
Thank you. So, bugünkü konuşmamızda hakikaten
In our speech, Vimal Shah actually provided good examples, and he would like us to think that when you invest in the continent, you will have advantages, but you should think about longer-term plans. And there are many good examples. If you can follow his examples, you can actually ask questions to them after this session ended, because they have many opportunities and examples. Right now, Musokotwane from Zambia will take the floor. He is actually the former Minister of Finance and businessman. He said we have a limited population of 15 million, but he also says that in line with Vimal Shah, if you come with a project in your mind, there is huge investment opportunities, and you don't need a Zambian partner. You can set up your own business, and you can go to the other countries. Since he is the former Minister of Finance, maybe he can also speak about the banking sector in Africa 5 years before and 5 years later, because the investment climate of Africa is changing day by day. And he says to us, he warns us that the Chinese and the Indian businessmen are ahead of Turkey. So he has a message to us. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the fourth time that I've come to Turkey, and I must say that I love it. But this is the first time coming to Udag, and it's always surprising. It's like you're coming to Switzerland. Now, I said this is the fourth time I've come to Turkey. The first time that I came, I was actually surprised. I was surprised because the Turkey that was in my mind was the Turkey of the 1980s, when you had serious economic problems. And I saw Turkey before I came here as one of those countries like Libya, Tunisia, and so forth. But when I came here, I was shocked to see that the Turkey of today is really very advanced, very strong economy. I think there's one good lesson that I learned from there, which is that believing is seeing. If you just work on rumors or what you've heard without seeing and experiencing, you have a total different picture. The same story, ladies and gentlemen, applies to you. Most of you here, even to ask, where is Zambia? On that African map, you scratch your head first before you can tell where Zambia is. But I think, more seriously, before I come to the question that was answered, the picture that is held by many people in Europe and many other places about Africa is a continent that is full of troubles. Africa, you see it as a place where there's Ebola. You see Africa as a place where there are civil wars. You see Africa as a place where there's chaos. But you forget that Africa being a big continent, there are varieties. Indeed, there are places where there are difficulties, just like any other place on earth. A few years ago, there was a lot of fighting in the Balkans. There's a lot of fighting nearby here in Syria. But no one says, because there's fighting in the Balkans, because there's fighting in Syria, therefore the whole of Europe is a problem. The same thing is about Africa. Yes, there are places where there are difficulties, but I think for now, the bulk of Africa is very stable, peaceful, and the continent, as we've been told, has been growing. In fact, some of the fastest growing economies on earth are in Africa. And the growth rate of Africa in the past 5 years has been in the order of 5, 6, 7%. So there is something that is happening there. And my advice to you is jump on an airplane, go and take a look. Of course, you must do a research. Which of these countries is something that might be pleasing to you. But after that, buy a ticket, go there, land there, and convince yourself that this is actually a peaceful place like any other place on earth. And more importantly, that there is money to be made in Africa. Certainly in Zambia, when businessmen come and they don't talk about making profits, we have no interest in them. Because if you come and you say you don't want to make profit, it means you are not ready to employ people. It means you are not ready to pay taxes. It means you are not ready to make any contribution. So what do you want? You might as well go back. The people who want to come to Zambia, to Africa, are people who are coming there to make profits, because then you contribute. You build on to this momentum that has been taking place in the last decade. Now, this is why you see, or you read about the stories, that the Chinese are always going to Africa. The Indians are always going to Africa. Of course, the Chinese are very clever people. The Indians are very clever people. What are they looking for? They've seen profit opportunities. And in Turkey, they are still waiting. Wait, it's up to you. It's up to you. Wait. While the Chinese making their profits, the Indians making their profits, and we also make our profits. But of course, we would love you to come. Coming now specifically to the issue of banking, there's a lot of reform that has been taking place in Africa. This is why, in fact, some people confuse that maybe Africa is growing because of the commodity boom. It's not just that. There's been lots of reform. And one of those reforms has been in the banking sector. The African countries would adhere very strictly to the BAO principles. These are the principles that I think the international banking world, through the BIS, commonly or jointly work together to pronounce the principles under which sound banking must be conducted everywhere. We have reformed our central banks. They are always at the cutting edge in terms of knowing how to supervise institutions. And lots of investment has been taking place in the banks. Of course, we'd want more. These banks, there are many. You have international banks like Citibank, Standard Chartered Bank, Barclays Bank, Standard Bank of South Africa. They are all over the continent. And this issue of payment that we've been hearing, ATMs and so forth, they're everywhere. Payment systems using phones, the Kenyan colleague has already discussed that. So my message is that please, even if you don't want to make any commitments, jump on the airplane, come and take a look. We are there to guide you. You don't have to be partners with us. We are just happy that you come. But the business is there to be made. Thank you.
Evet.
So the Musokotwane said that get on a plane and come to us, we will help you. So, I mean, right now we have a very good businessman, Fuat Tosyalı, and he has 18 different facilities, and I know that you have a big investment in Algeria. So right now I would like to pass the microphone to you. Maybe you can explain your experience about the Algerian case and your opinion about the African continent. Thank you very much. I would like to say that hopefully this summit will be proven to be fruitful and enlightening of all of our stakeholders. When we are speaking about the African continent, I don't believe that African continent can be fit into one session. I mean, this is unjust both for the African continent and also for the Turkish economy, because the African continent is the second continent with the largest population, and 15% of the world population lives in African continent. And the African continent is comprised of 54 diplomatically recognized countries. And unfortunately, 25 least developed countries are also in the African continent. If you take a look to the Turkish economy, you will see that we are trying to find for opportunities, and the African continent has that kind of opportunity. If you assess African continent as an opportunity, you will see that the Algeria is the biggest country in the African continent. And with its natural gas generation, Algeria is the 5th largest country. And in terms of oil production, the Algeria is the 9th biggest country in the world. Of course, we are not trying to penetrate to the African continent very recently. The previous presidents Turgut Özal and Abdullah Gül, and with our ex-prime minister, the current president Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, with delegations, we went to the African continent in order to understand the continent. I went to Algeria, for example, 20 years before. And I have been to Algeria many times more. But this, what I call African opening, should not only be taught as a commercial relationship, because as our market is increasing in the African continent, we should also manufacture in the African continent. That's what we did. When we decided to invest for the Algerian market, we had huge volume of exports to the Algeria. But once the Algeria undersigned custom union with the European Union, we actually encountered with a risk of losing that market, so we thought that we should manufacture inside Algeria. Starting from 2013, our facility started to manufacture in Algeria. Our first investment was $500 million, and with our second investment, it will reach to $750 million in total sum. And in May, we will have another investment, and we will have an extra $1.3 billion of investment. So in total sum, our investment in Algeria will reach to $2 billion. I believe African continent has many opportunities for many sectors. It is present in Kenya, Mozambique, Djibouti, Zambia. In every countries, there are huge opportunities for every sector. For example, our guest from Kenya, Mr. Shah, spoke about this. There is 25% of tariff barriers, the custom tax. So it is actually a big chance for you, because once you started to manufacture in Kenya, you will be protected with custom barriers. So we should penetrate into those markets as long as we see an opportunity and those opportunities are existed. In Algeria, many of our investors started to conduct their investments, and I am quite happy with that. We have direct flights to many African countries, and I believe this will be an alternative to our contracting export markets. So, if we open an Antioch cuisine restaurant in Africa, do you believe that it will sell foods? I don't believe that every sector will actually sell. In every sector, you will be successful in Africa. You should not think just as a visit, but you should think that you will live in Africa when you make an investment. Because 33% of my life is spent in Algeria, because I invested in that country and I have to learn about the culture of that country. We have investment in Montenegro, and the business culture in Montenegro is totally different, and the Algerian business culture is totally different. We have Japanese partners, for example. They invested in Turkey, and their business culture is totally different from the other two. So you cannot manage those investments with a single culture. We are speaking about 54 countries, so there are 54 different business cultures in Africa. So what I recommend to our friends who are going to invest in the African continent, they should learn the values and the culture of the African continent. That's what I would like to say.
Benjamin,
Final panelist is going to be Benjamin Hauwanga. He is from Namibia and was raised by his mother, and he started a small store called Location and went as far as Angola later on. I asked him, about 400 million of these people in Africa do not have any access to electricity. How can we sell electrical products? He said 100,000 houses are currently being built, and some portion of that is going to be implemented by me. So that problem is also going to be tackled. But we have little time, so Mr. Benjamin, I am looking forward to hearing your opinions.
Namibia is a big country with a population of 1.8 million people. We have a very, very small population. Firstly, I'd like to thank the ambassador of Turkey to Namibia, who have worked so hard to talk about Turkey. We were not aware about Turkey, but she worked so hard up and down and explained the opportunities in Turkey. That is the reason why I came today, because Namibians want to know where is Turkey, who is Turkey, and what Turkey are doing on this moment. Namibia has a lot of opportunities. As we know that the best gem diamond in the world is coming from our offshore sea. The best diamonds coming from us. And as we know that on the past, after our independence, our president invited all the countries, and the one country who came and visited and based in Namibia was China. and promise that they are going to enter with Namibians in joint venture of manufacturing. But until today, there is no single manufacturing in Namibia. That's why I came and I'm knocking to Turkish. There is an opportunity. What we get in Namibia is this final product from other countries like China. If you take a stand up today, coming to Namibia, concentrating in manufacturing, because we have an act in our government called EPZ. EPZ means Export Processing Zone. You can bring your equipment to Namibia and manufacture what you want to manufacture, and you export it back to your country where you want, free of charge, zero rated. The government is not charging you any dollar. You export it on zero rated. What the government needs is only to create job for our Namibian. And as we said that Namibia have only a population of 1.8 million, we have a lot of rivers. As I myself have started already dealing with Turkish companies. I'm buying here food like spaghetti, macaroni, and glasses. I'm exported from Turkey to Namibia on this moment. This product is a very, very good product. We test it in Namibia, and the Namibians are very, very happy with this product. And all of us want really to make joint ventures with you, Turkish. The opportunity is there. But it's only on you to stand up also to go and visit a little bit, to see where is Namibia, how is the country Namibia. We called all of the people who went to visit Namibia, they come back and saying it's Europe of Africa. Secondly, we are concentrating, the president of our country have announced on this moment the mass housing. The government is building 100,000 houses on this moment. And we are already negotiating with some Turkish companies, two of them. We are already in joint venture on this moment. We're starting with 10,000 houses on this moment. And we need more Turkish companies, construction companies, to come and join this mass housing project in Namibia. This mass housing is funded by the government. If you finish the house, the government is paying you directly. Our banking system is exactly like Turkish banking system, 100%. It means this is an opportunity. We are looking on roads, one highway road from Botswana, and the railway to Botswana. We are looking a lot of bridges, and these opportunities is in your hands. If you can stand up, you can grab this opportunity, because we want you guys to come and join us in our country.
Evet, şimdi bütün panelistleri birer kere dinleme şansımız oldu.
Well, we had the opportunity to talk to each of our panelists and I think I have to finish soon. Now, I would like each and every one of you to build only one sentence to finalize. As far as I can see, Africa is calling us. What do you think, dear Vardan? Well, in the past, in the 1995 and 1996, when Musat visited Africa to make observations, bureaucracy said, "Why are you here? Why are you spending your time in here?" But the point we are at is quite different. Both our bureaucracy and government changed their minds, and now we are willing to go and utilize the potential in Africa. But this is not a potential only for Turkey, but also for other nations. It is not all about utilizing and carrying over Turkey's possibilities, but also those of other nations. I agree with all of our African representatives. We are not only talking about selling goods here, investments to build the future of Africa should be our mission. And our assembly realizes this. So companies here, I would like you to invite to our board of foreign economic relations. Come join us and seize the benefit for both Africa and Turkey. So this is another call from our assembly. Dear Boane was going to make a presentation, but we don't have time for that. So could she just briefly summarize it with only a few sentences?
Just summarize, I would like to say that you are all welcome to Mozambique, you are all welcome to Africa. The opportunity is there to invest. The government has been working hard for reforms in order to create a good environment for all companies that are willing to invest in our country. Of course, we are willing also to receive companies which are interested to invest and also can create job opportunities for our people and also can contribute for our economy. As I mentioned, the infrastructure area, the tourism, let us say the road infrastructure, railways, and all those sectors, the different sectors, let us say even the media enterprise are all welcome, all initiatives are welcome in Mozambique. And thank you for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I was about to invite my colleague who should speak and bring the very specific aspects about Maputo city, the opportunity of investment that we have there, but we are running out of time and we won't be able to present that. But I want to leave this invitation. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Biz de kendisine çok teşekkür ediyoruz. O sunumu da inşallah.
We would like to also thank you. Hopefully we will listen to that presentation later on.
Still the figures are very, I can see that we don't have so much women here. And I would like also to say, women, please arise and let's go to Africa and invest. You are all welcome to. Thank you.
Alkışlar Sayın Boane'ye. Teşekkürler. Sayın Shah, çok kısa.
Dear Shah, could you also briefly tell us your final remarks about Kenya?
When you look at Africa, there's Africa today and there's Africa tomorrow. Africa today is 1 billion people. It's 2050, it's 2 billion people. You need to have your foot in the door, be there, be present. It's changing. I think if you look at the whole eastern coast, it's a oil and gas hotspot. Mozambique has the highest amount of gas in the Indian Ocean. Tanzania, same thing. Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan have found a lot of oil there. So there's a lot of hotspot for oils. But at the same time, education, healthcare, value addition in manufacturing, I think logistical hubs. We need ports. If you see Somalia right now, you need about 10 to 12 ports there so that you can have inland roads into Ethiopia. They're all landlocked inside. Infrastructure now, we can do it through PPPs. It's a public-private partnership where the government actually takes on facilitation for projects and you can actually come and invest in them. Like she said, roads, railways, power, ICT services. Again, Kenya, I would just say one thing, it's a big hub. Airline hub, I think Turkish Airlines flies twice a day now, and 2 flights one from Nairobi and Mombasa. Apart from that, communications hub, financial hub, a tourism hub, and of course, a gateway to the rest of Africa where a lot of people are headquartering there. Google, Microsoft, GE have headquartered, Coca-Cola, Unilever have headquartered in Kenya to serve the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. So it's open for business, and I think overall, one's got to look at it in different terms. When you talk about EPZs, we don't have EPZs now, we have special economic zones. A special economic zone is like it's a foreign country, but it's in Africa. You can use local manpower, you can have total tariff-free, tax-free advantages there. So a lot more happening there. Africa is open for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hemen Zambia'ya geçiyoruz.
Now we will go on with Zambia. Dear Musokotwane, former Minister of Finance and a businessman, what have you got to say to us?
Very briefly, people come to Africa these days for two reasons. One, they've seen that the economies are growing, and because economies are growing, it has stimulated investment opportunities, especially infrastructure, to continue to support that growth. Electricity, ports, water, even urban development. I'm a businessman now, and I'm promoting the establishment of a satellite city. Why? Because the middle class is growing, but the public sector is slow to build houses, to build schools and so forth. So I'm promoting a project worth $1.5 billion to establish a new city. So they come to continue to participate in the growth. The second thing is they're looking for the future, especially the Chinese, the Indians. That's why they're coming there. Join them. Thank you.
Thank you. Sayın Tosyalı, alkışlar.
So, dear Tosyalı, what do you have to say? Our investments are going to continue outside Algeria too, but I have to underline that the rich mineral reserves of Africa and the diversity in that area is a point to focus on. Last year, we also adopted on the government level a supply document, considering that most of our industrialists could seize opportunities in terms of using those mineral reserves in order to manufacture their raw materials and come up with finished products in our own country. Research is currently going on and we are discovering new opportunities. This is one thing I would like to underline in particular, because abroad manufacturing investments can still be done in Africa, and you can make use of benefits offered to you as if you are manufacturing in Turkey but not abroad. Okay, which country is next following Algeria? Two countries actually. Okay then, let's leave it at that. Finally, we will listen to Benjamin Hauwanga. Please keep it as brief as possible. Please give us your final remarks about Namibia and Angola.
Uranium producer in the world also. And we are having also, we export the raw material of the skin all over the world. We are exporting the raw material of charcoal to South Africa. And I know that Turkish need charcoal. Why can you not come and open a factory to produce those things in Namibia and export it? You can put it in the free zone and you export it free of charge on the zero-rated rate through the government. Welcome. Come back. Come to Namibia.
Evet, hepinize teşekkür ediyoruz. Süreyi
I'd like to thank each and every one of you who went beyond the allowed time, but this is a hard session. We were 7 people. Thank you, each panelists. Hopefully, it was not a boring session. We talked about a nice, beautiful continent. Please keep your